Chelsea are finally back in action, taking on Wrexham today, the 24th of July. I'm recording this in the past because it's the 23rd, and Enzo Maresca just a little bit ago finished his first press conference from Santa Clara, California, where the 49ers play. He's going to be getting his team together to square off against Wrexham. That's right, the first team co-owned by fictional characters from two different origin universes. That's right, Mac and Wade Wilson's team. And look, there's a couple of comments he got into about Trevoh Chalobah. He talked about Christopher Nkunku. He talked about Reece James. Reece James also is the player representative who came out. And so we want to run through a couple of those comments and then also talk about what maybe some realistic expectations should be for today's match against Wrexham. Because again, the goal of preseason is never to go out and win all the games. That is a nice thing to do, but it's about prepping your players for the full season ahead, making sure they stay healthy and that the conditioning is strong. And you can really figure out who those core players are in your team, in your side, particularly when there are some question marks about who the starters or the subs or reserves are going to be. So let's get into a couple of his comments. I think the first one that people are going to be really excited about is his comments on Christopher Nkunku. And we know that he did not have a great season for Chelsea last year. We were hoping that he was going to have the Cole Palmer level contribution of goals and assists. It didn't happen. But it seems as if Enzo Maresca views him critically within the attack based upon just a few lines to an answer he got about what Nkunku's involvement might be. He mentioned that, quote, he can play everywhere. He's one of the players in these 2 weeks, which would be the time that he's had with the players, who is doing very, very well. He's taking the way we want to play. We will try to have players who can play different positions across the attack. And we've seen this last season where we saw players like Nico Jackson play on left wing or play more to the left. We've seen Cole Palmer play more centrally when he's been more at home on the right-hand side of the attack. So keeping this in mind, what do we expect then from Christopher Nkunku? I think that we could see in this first game him playing centrally. He could then potentially pull back and play a little bit more of like a second striker position. He could play on either of the wings. I think all of it's open right now, considering that Chelsea have not gone out and signed the player, the additional attacker that they were looking for after striking out with Elise. So expect to see Christopher Nkunku in multiple positions across this time frame over the next few weeks. So this game coming up, the Celtic game in the weekend, and maybe as we start to bring more attackers in or get a understanding of who that A team versus B team is from Maresca, what that actually might look like when it comes to real matches heading into the Premier League season, the match against City. So very exciting about him. The goal is obviously to keep him fit. So we talk about Trevoh Chalobah. We know that he got left back at home, likely some type of impending exit from Chelsea, even though reports coming out today that he is looking to stay and fight, even though he was left out of the squad. What Enzo Maresca said is, from my point of view, it's always sad to leave players out. Preseason squad, first 11. They work every day for the same target. Trev's situation is quite clear. We have Axel Tosin, West, who's finally back, and some young profiles. I think it's referencing Josh Eppignong, who joined the team as well from the youth setup. So that's an exciting opportunity for him. A really unfortunate situation for Trevoh Chalobah. It doesn't feel like it's something that comes across, at least in the way that Enzo talked about it, as his decision or something that he was super happy about. It is a pretty saturated defense at the moment, though you probably would have liked to bring him if you could have. So again, jury's still out on what's going to happen with Trevoh Chalobah. It's an odd situation. We'll keep an eye on it over the days and weeks ahead as preseason kind of winds up. And if there's any smoke that starts to lead to a fire about what Trevoh Chalobah's future might be, because Chelsea, do hold all the keys in this situation, given the fact that he is on a very long-term deal at the moment. Reece James is another player that came up. Reece obviously had a very poor end to last season. He will be missing the first few games in the start of this season, which is very unfortunate. But Maresca's comments on Reece James, one was about the captaincy, and then one was about Reece James in the context of how he's been thinking about attack. So let's talk about the captaincy one first. For sure, James will be one of the captains. He's already been in the past. I want him again to be one of the leaders in this team. I like players who take responsibility. So maybe not a full-throated, he will be or is the primary captain absolutely 100% of the time that he's on the pitch. I would imagine more so than not, from just a continuity perspective, he'll maintain the armband anytime that he is on the pitch and available to do so. Maybe the question becomes then, does Ben Chilwell stay vice captain? Is there someone else who rises? We know that obviously Conor Gallagher wore the armband for a large portion of last season. He is not going to be joining the preseason squad anytime soon. So now there's an opportunity for, is there someone else? So I would keep an eye on that over the next couple of games. Is there someone who ends up wearing the armband who isn't Reece James and they're on the pitch? Is it someone, like an Nkunku, like a Sterling, who maybe is seen as a more veteran individual, maybe not necessarily for their time at Chelsea, but for their footballing experience? That could be a consideration. So again, just something to keep an eye on. What I also like, though, about the Reece James conversation is he did get an opportunity to get on the mic as well and mentioned that he had one goal for this season, that was to stay on the pitch. And so we're all very much looking forward to that being the case for him. When it came down to the tactics, though, for Reece James, and Enzo Maresca followed up and saying, in these weeks, we tried different situations with inverting, talking about the inverted wingbacks. We tried James inside, talked about really referencing his time maybe at Wigan when he was on loan and how he did offer a little bit more from a midfield perspective. And he also mentioned that other players like Malo Gusto and Mark Aguirre are capable of doing that. So he's going to try different situations within that. So it'll be very interesting to see, particularly as we get this first match, this first opportunity against Wrexham, how much of that happens, how much of it is maybe just getting back up to fitness versus trying to go full bore on what you're hoping to see happen for 90 minutes in a Premier League match. So again, all things that are open for consideration, but seemingly Reece James, Christopher Nkunku, and Trevoh Chalobah driving the majority of the conversation. In addition to Enzo Maresca just talking about expectations at Chelsea. In general, very good, standard, by the book first press conference for a new Chelsea manager. Something that you would hope that there's no misses, presented himself well, presented the club well. All you can really hope for in that situation. Now we hope that the next press conference that he delivers after the match against Wrexham is talking about how well the team did, how well the players did. Switching to the game, though, I think there's a couple of things that we should just set some realistic expectations for. I think one, most likely there will be players all across the board in terms of their level of fitness. So it's not going to be the best football we've ever seen, but it should be indicative of what we should expect from Maresca. So to me, this is more of a breadcrumbs situation to lead us down to the path of what we think Chelsea will be playing like this season. There were clips and videos from the training sessions that came through that were really more about fitness. There was some level of movement in there, but again, training versus the actual match, there's going to be more that we can peel away from that and understand a little bit more about what Maresca is trying to accomplish and how well the players are responding to that. The second thing, and we've seen this in multiple preseasons in the past, is that expect balancing of teams. So there's going to be odd combinations at time. There's going to be lineups that we never see again, attack pairings, defensive pairings that we never see again, because it's just preseason. That's what happens. Sometimes it's a warm body for a spot based upon the players who have not yet returned to the club. And I would also expect that we're going to see wholesale changes from the first half to the second half. I mean, this is the first competitive minutes that we've seen for this side for some of these players in a very long time. And the risk of injury is always going to be in the back of the mind of Enzo Maresca, the players, his staff, the club, the supporters. And the last thing we want to see is someone get into an injury situation just due to failure to be fully conditioned and be overworked in this first match. So I would expect, if you're getting there, if you're actually attending the game and you want to see a specific player, don't miss the first half, because you might miss them completely if this does come true. So I think those are some things to kind of keep in mind and consider as it relates to what we should expect from this Wrexham match. The result, to me, is the least important thing that we can take away from this. Yes, it would be very bad from a headline perspective if Chelsea lose to Wrexham. But at the end of the day, this is just about getting us ready for the season ahead, because the most important match to focus on right now is everything leading up to that match against City to kickstart our Premier League season, our Premier League campaign, and the first true match for Enzo Maresca as Chelsea manager. But let us know your thoughts. What are you looking forward to about this match against Wrexham, the first match for Enzo Maresca, the first opportunity to see a couple of players like Tosin get his opportunity? We know that Dewsbury Hall was training, but on the side of the regular group, so maybe he doesn't get a full opportunity. He might not get his Chelsea debut. And there are also a couple youngsters with the side as well. Let us know in the comments, like and subscribe as well. We always appreciate the support. It means more than you know. And we'll catch you in the next video. So until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.